Good morning, Panam! You're listening to the Earful Tower. This is Oliver G on World Radio Paris, and today we're here with a special guest, Tom Clark, who's the co-founder of Coutume Cafe. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you. Great to be here.
And we're joined by James Vazina, the producer, as usual.
Hi, Ali.
How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. And you?
I'm all right. How are you, Tom?
Great. Happy to be here.
Earful Tower with Oliver G.
So today we're going to be talking with you about coffee in Paris, which is a subject that a lot of people are very interested in. A lot of people know about the Paris coffee scene. You personally, you're the co-founder of Coutume Cafe. Tell us a little bit about the things that you're doing and where you've got your cafes.
Yeah, well, we began in 2010 when the scene was completely dead in the water. So it was pretty obvious to see there was a opportunity to improve the coffee scene. We were probably 3 actors at the time. Caféothèque had opened in 2007-8, and we began as a very small roastery. We actually began roasting for a couple of restaurants before we opened our cafe, and that caught on pretty quick. There was a lot of appreciation for our coffee quality, our approach, and we saw that there was potential to go further.
And that's exactly what you've done.
We have, yeah.
What are we talking? We're talking Japan, we're talking Geneva.
Correct, yeah.
Several in Paris.
Several in Paris.
And the best of all is I Googled before the show, I Googled best coffee in Paris. Yours was one of the top hits, Coutume Cafe.
Amazing.
Personally, I love the coffee shop. I've been there many times.
Thank you very much.
For me, it's my favorite thing on the left bank. Besides,
not sure if that's a compliment, but thank you.
Exactly. Besides the bridges that lead me back to the safety of the right bank.
Okay, and to the hipster lifestyle that you live. I understand. Okay.
Tell me a little bit. You mentioned the Paris coffee scene was dead in the water. What does that mean? Tell the listeners what the Paris coffee scene was like 10 years ago.
I'm an old man, so let me go back in the past. I began my experience in Paris in 2006-07 as a university exchange student, and came from a fairly burgeoning hospitality scene in Australia, where I'd worked during my studies in pretty nice cocktail bars, some nice hotels and restaurants, where we'd always had a head barista, and I'd always, been very impressed and fascinated by what he or she was doing. When I came to Paris in 2006, I was expecting great coffee. I think the Paris brand is so strong that people think, I'm going to have the most amazing food, wine, cheese, which is pretty accurate. And they also assume the coffee is going to be amazing. The whole French coffee culture on the terrace, but it was probably the worst coffee scene on the planet, barring Antarctica.
The thing with the French coffee scene that I think a lot of people would think, we're talking about an espresso sitting on a terraced front, people watching.
Correct. It was much more the experience. It wasn't the product or the artisan process. It was apparently much, it was a much more purist and qualitative scene back in the 60s, 70s. But France went through a huge kind of global distribution transformation, where all the small artisan butchers, cheesemongers, fishmongers, they were all bought up by huge distributors, and the coffee scene was completely massacred. It became a huge monopoly. Paris, for example, up until recently was pretty much under the wraps of one roaster who has about 70-80% of the market. So for many, many years it didn't move, whereas the Australian, New Zealand, American markets, the Scandinavian markets have all moved exceptionally, huge distances in the last 20 years. And Paris kind of just got by with its, we've got great views, we've got beautiful terraces, we've got grumpy waiters.
They rested on their laurels.
Exactly.
And
they
went cold. The coffee went cold.
The coffee went cold, so to speak.
And so here we have you, Tom Clark, an Australian who brought, in a way, the Australian coffee culture to Paris.
Yeah.
Could we go as far as saying you're the man that brought Australian coffee to Paris?
I'm not sure. I'm kind of a humble man. It must be the age.
Could I get away with saying
You could get away with it. I wouldn't, denigrate that. But no, I contributed for sure. I was one of the actors, amongst others. We were a small group of people that had traveled and found ourselves in Paris, Frenchmen that had gone to Australia or elsewhere, internationals like myself, some other Australians, such as Paul from Café Lomi. We used to get together 6-7 years ago and do cuppings and latte throwdowns.
Hang on. What's a cupping?
Cupping.
People?
What's a cupping?
A cupping, it's not to alleviate stress in your muscles with vacuum cups. It's very different. It's a process of analyzing the tasting notes of a single origin coffee. We do it at source when we selecting our coffees at the producers. We do it once we've got our samples and we're sample roasting, and we want to check our tasting notes and our roasting curves, because as you approach a roast, you can express a single origin in very different nuances, and it's the roaster to interpret the terroir, the original tasting notes.
Hang on. We're talking about coffee or wine here? What are we talking about?
We're talking about coffee, which has, objectively speaking, more volatile compounds than wine. We're talking about up to 800 molecular compounds aromatically.
So this is kind of a whole science here.
It's a complete science. And it's also, the timing's just been perfect for us, because as we grew, science has really come down to our sphere. It's very affordable. We use refractometers, color track.
What's a refractometer?
A refractometer tells you, it basically throws a laser through a liquid and tells us, as it refracts, how many dissolved solids we have in a coffee, which gives us our extraction rate, and that basically helps us dial in your filters and espressos. We use them every morning.
Something tells me that the French maybe just didn't want to use that and just keep it simpler.
Yeah.
This is interesting.
A lot of myths around the coffee world, and the French, if you go to the brasserie, some will say, oh, you never want to wash your portafilters. You need them to be nice and oily. That's really how you get a good espresso.
This is interesting what you bring up, and what James brings up, who's half French, I should point out.
Sorry for the offense.
Are the Parisians, how are they reacting to foreigners coming in, Australians and other people, saying, hey guys, you're not doing your coffee properly. This is how you should be drinking coffee.
It depends on your approach. We have a very holistic and I would say a very involved manner of doing it. We began by doing public cuppings every Saturday morning in my cafe.
Sorry, what do you call a cupping in French?
Un cupping, or une dégustation des cafés.
And when you're having these
There's a lot of
cuppings,
franglais in specialty coffee, because the French vocab hasn't caught up yet. It will.
are you spitting out the coffee as you drink it?
You do, yeah. You basically use a defined process. So we generally use 12 grams of coffee for 200 mils of water, which gives us a 60 gram per liter ratio, which is the golden rule for filter methods.
Hang on, I'm writing this down.
I never knew there was so much behind coffee.
If you want to make good coffee at home, get a scale, get a grinder.
This is good. No, tell us, and for those who are just tuning in to the show right now, this is Tom Clark from Coutume. We're going to be putting him to the test in a minute with some coffees, just to see if he can walk the same walk that he's been talking. but it really is. This is a whole.
It's a complete science. And as I say, science has now become affordable, and the developments have been massive. I mean, as a roaster, we use color tracks, we use humidity analyzers, machinery that would have cost $10,000, $15,000 a couple of years ago, and now we can get it from Taiwan for $1,500.
You're kind of the Walter White of the Paris coffee scene.
You're not as wealthy, but or nor as cool.
So when people come to your coffee shop, do they know what's happening behind? Do they know how their coffee's being made?
They see the test
to an
tubes.
extent, yeah, but we're very transparent. I think the only way to operate as a business these days is transparency. The internet killed all the myth around, I have the most amazing idea or brand. No, you have to be transparent. You have to involve your customer in the experience, and there's so much to be involved in as a coffee roaster and coffee shop, from harvesting to selection to the cuppings to the roasting to the extraction and drink preparation.
But the reviews are great online. Speaking of online, the reviews for your cafe are fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, we've been a little, adventurous with our policies. So we had a couple of negative reviews recently when we banned laptops and tablets. About 6 months ago, we noticed that we'd become a co-working space without us wanting to become
which is
one.
common in Paris. A lot of the cafes.
It's very common, yeah. Coffee shops for many years had to attract customers in through free Wi-Fi, and they want it. It's a home away from home, the coffee shop, and I agree. You should feel like it's your living room. You should be relaxed. But there is a equilibrium to reach, and when your tables are being monopolized all day for a €3 cup of coffee, you'll kill a coffee shop after a couple of years of this policy. Plus, you kill the ambience. That was the biggest issue we had. We had an amazing, thriving cafe with regulars who would come and talk and invite their friends over and meet people across different tables. And within a couple of months of this transformation, a couple of newspapers cited us as one of the best places to work in Paris without our consultation. Ooh. And it just killed the vibe. We had people shushing tables, saying, "Excuse me, I'm trying to work." People that would get very territorial and put their laptop down at 9 a.m. And as soon as you'd come over and ask them if they'd like another coffee or something to eat, they would stare down my waiters, and my baristas were completely undervalued. Yeah. So
tell me, you mentioned something just a bit before, €3 for a cup of coffee. I asked a young Parisian woman recently, what's your favorite coffee shop in Paris? Mm-hmm. You know what she responded?
I don't.
She said, "I'm not rich enough to go out for coffee in Paris."
Oh, wow.
Tell me. A lot of people say these kind of scientific coffees are too expensive.
Yeah, especially when you compare them to what you're used to be paying. I mean, you pay around €1, maybe €1.50 for what people consider as normal coffee for the
Yeah.
social time.
Yeah, well, we're not normal coffee, let me be honest. We're a specialty coffee. It's a completely different chain of provisions. We buy the top Arabicas that are hand-selected, hand-picked, huge amounts of sorting, all hand sorting, with a couple of laser machines that sort, but a lot of human interaction. Hundreds of hands of.
So how much does it cost for a cappuccino?
We're exceptionally. That's the irony of a specialty coffee shop in Paris. We still underprice ourselves for all the work we're doing, for the green coffee that we're buying at multiples of.
Hang on, that's not a price, Tom.
No, it's not a price, but I'm giving you some context. We're $4.20 for a cappuccino. So compare that to the local brasserie, who will give you a conventional, mass-produced, mechanically picked coffee with huge defects, over-roasted to get rid of the defects. So that, very dark coffee roasting, it's not necessarily a sign of their savoir-faire. It's generally a way of, cacher la misère, as we say in French, to hide the defects.
It really sounds like wine to me, doesn't it?
It
It
is.
really does. Yeah,
Wine's done an amazing job at valuing itself, and that's where we're going. 50 years ago, from my understanding, in France, there was vin rouge, vin blanc, and it was very basic. People would cut it with a bit of water to make it more or less drinkable. That's not the case anymore. You can go to Monop or any supermarket and get some amazing wines, and that's where coffee's going.
If you just tuned in, you're listening to World Radio Paris. This show is called The Earful Tower. Earful Tower, that's a play on words for the Eiffel Tower. For anyone that didn't pick it up, you can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/The Earful Tower. Tom's shaking his head over...
I'm not passing any judgment. I like the name.
Okay, he likes the name. What we're going to do now is we're going to put Tom Clark of Coutume to the test. He's talked the talk. Some have compared him to Walter White from Breaking Bad. That was
Some
me.
people being yourself.
Yes, that was me. And we've got some coffees from around town that we're gonna give him a blind taste test.
Okay.
James is getting them now. He's gonna hand them to.
My eyes are closed.
We
I'm
want you
ready.
to have a smell, have a taste, and give us a review, and see if you can guess where it came from.
Okay.
Okay,
so
talk us through it.
Feels like a plastic cup, so I'm assuming a automatic machine.
No, we've put it into plastic cups,
Okay.
so you can open your eyes. Tell us the smell. What are you feeling
That's,
here? Tell the listeners what you're
That's
going
horrid to think of. No better word to describe it.
What do you mean
No,
horrid?
that's I would say that's an instant coffee mixed with long life milk. That would be my assertion there.
Okay, that one was Oliver's 2017 Nescafe Selection Blend, mixed with long life milk, carried over, hand mixed by my scooter on the way over. From
Amazing. So I think you're saying that I got that pretty
You
much
got that
bang on.
Exactly right.
Thanks,
Not
mate.
bad. Okay.
All right, number 2. It's looking very milky.
Okay, tell us what you smell.
I don't smell much. I smell mostly the milk, and again, it smells like long life milk, which is another conundrum because we're 50 kilometers away from dairy farms.
Okay, but better or worse than the last one? Okay.
Got to get oxygen in there.
Is that how you taste
As
the
you cup, you get the retrofraction going, so you have to bring in the
There was
air.
a lot of retrofaction going. I was watching that bit then.
I really can only taste the milk. It's extremely dominant. So I don't think it's an espresso because the espresso would have a little bit more, it would pierce the milk. So I'm sure that it's possibly another instant coffee or a filter coffee. I don't see an espresso as its base. And I would say it's a conventional mass market brand.
So where do you think it comes from?
Yeah, where do you think, and what do you give it out of 10? How many coffee beans out of 10?
I'd give that a 3.
3 out of 10. What was the first one out of 10?
I would give that a 1.
Oliver's special was 1 out of 10. Okay. Second one was 3 out of 10. Which one was the second one? The one from McDonald's.
It's the
Okay.
That
McDonald's
was a
coffee.
McDonald's double latte or double latte for
Okay.
those listening at home who don't speak French.
It beat your
So
special
a little
brew.
plug for Australians. Thanks to the Australian market, McCafe came into being because the McDonald's franchises couldn't get by with terrible coffee. The Australians had too fine of a palate and expectations. So McCafe actually, as a chain mass market approach, it's not the worst. They actually grind beans fresh. They tamp. They use it.
It's 3 times better than Nescafe, apparently.
There you go. There you go.
Have we got another one? or
No,
is that
that's it.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Yeah, we're in for it.
I might need something to wash that away, but thank you very much.
Well, we also brought in red wine if you want to have a taste of that.
Absolutely. And that's exactly where we're going, guys. You see on the back of a label, you get tasting notes. You get its varietal, its terroir, its producer. If you look at a specialty coffee packet, you'll get all that. So wine's done a great job communicating.
I want to know just why Australians with coffee?
Okay, there are a couple of theories. I would
So
say...
hang on, for a bit of context first. So many of the cafes in Paris,
A lot of cafes.
not just Australians are behind it, Australian coffee makers,
Baristas.
but we're also, a lot of them, for example, Holly Belly, which is central Paris, very popular.
French guys that moved to Australia.
They write on their menu Melbourne-inspired coffee shop.
And why is it just so big, even from what I understand in Australia, from what you were telling me? It's just huge.
It's a religion, absolutely. Well, I would say the origins date back to post-Second World War, when a lot of Italian and Mediterranean migrants moved over to Australia. They brought with them their bialettis, their espresso machines, their grinders, their espresso culture. We were drinking what you just served me, instant coffee.
Which one, the first one?
Well, yeah, the first one. We were drinking
That's how I
bad
drink my
instant
coffee.
Well, there is a better path to follow, and I hope you take it. In any case, they brought their espresso culture straight from Italy, Greece, so forth, to Melbourne. That was probably the pivotal landing place for many of those migrants. Moving forward, Australians are fairly, we like to question things. We come from a island nation. We had to kind of innovate and create our own solutions. We couldn't wait for the expert from Britain to come over to repair our bridge, so we kind of just got on and did it. And we started asking questions like, why would we use inferior quality green beans if we could buy better quality Arabicas as opposed to these defective Robusta beans that need to be carbonized? As a wealthy nation, we're able to also buy higher quality produce. And I guess our weather, our outdoor, al fresco lifestyle, everything kind of just led to us innovating and creating our own espresso culture. Very much an expression of the Australian identity, the social part of our culture, but also very much focused on innovation.
And then we turned around and brought it back to Europe.
That's quite a laurel to rest on. But yeah, we are very involved, not just in Europe, across North America. The flat white, you can hear about that now.
Hang on, about the flat white.
Yeah,
I was reading about this before. Is the flat white Australian or not?
As an Australian, I have to say yes.
Do listeners know what a flat white is?
What is a flat white as well?
A flat white, it's quite a good question. Many people confuse it. It's a double shot espresso in a porcelain cup, slightly larger than a cappuccino cup, with about 190 milliliters of steamed milk, steamed as a latte, so micro foam. We don't want that. We don't want that really fluffy cappuccino foam on the top. We want nice textured milk with just a tiny layer of micro foam on the top. That's a flat white. So it's basically a strong latte in a porcelain cappuccino cup.
I've got a question. Are you worried that this coffee, the coffee scene, the coffee scene in Paris and the world, are you worried that the coffee pot is about to boil over? Almost that people are are you worried that people are going to say, hang on, they all taste about the same here?
No,
I quite
because
like
in the
them.
end, that they're just happy having their €1 espresso at the comptoir.
They'll always be there, and that's great because that gives us contrast. But no, I think we're going down that specialized path, especially our generation. We want to know about where something's come from, how it's made, why you did this. If you're transparent, it's true that the snobby hipster approach, that doesn't work. That may work for a little bit, but it's got a shelf life. Whereas when you really educate, empower your client and give them all the understanding of how many human beings were involved in picking these coffee cherries, in sorting them, in hulling them, in processing them, and transporting them, the roaster doing his work to express all these amazing aromas, the barista dialing in every morning, getting that perfect balance between acidity, sweetness, bitterness. The client laps that up and has huge respect for the process, for the product, and for the experience.
Okay, fascinating insight there, as usual, Tom. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Eiffel Tower on World Radio Paris, and as we do every week on this show when we've got a guest in, we talk about a peculiarity of life in Paris or in France. And what we're going to talk about today, Tom, when you walked in, I noticed you have a motorbike helmet.
Correct.
You ride a motorbike just like I do.
I wouldn't say that. I've seen your Piaggio, but it's got two wheels.
What are you saying?
Some sort of motor.
You're saying my scooter is not a motorbike. Okay, we both ride motorbikes of sorts around Paris. What we're going to talk about today is whether Paris boils your blood temperature in a different way to how us expats maybe are at home. For example, you're Australian, I'm Australian. Do you find that you get road rage on your motorbike when you're in Paris in a way you didn't back home?
I do when I have my wife on the back because I really care about her. Myself, not so much. When I'm by myself, I know it's a dog-eat-dog world out there. Now, Paris has made me wake up pretty quick. I came here with all my gullible innocence, and I got trampled on, and I've become a bitter and twisted man in 10 years.
And James and I were talking about this before. I think a lot of people tend to find that they can get, because a lot of people are beeping their horns and yelling at each other, it's kind of contagious here. And if you don't act like that, then you just get left behind.
I zone out because it's a stress I don't want to have to deal with. I look at it as a comedy piece, really. I laugh about it. I think it's the only way to survive. I think you either laugh or go home. Otherwise, you just go crazy. It's just a cultural thing.
Do you beep your horn on your scooter? Do you
I
ring
never
your bell?
beep. No, I'm an Anglophone. Beeping is a last resort.
That's a big thing. And for those who've never been to Paris, beeping is also a religion like coffee has become. You have
just
to
like shouting certain words.
Yeah, it's just an expression form. It's one way of expressing your emotions.
James, you were telling a story recently how James, our producer, is usually a very placid, gentle man.
He looks placid.
He was telling a story about how
For
he
the
was
listeners,
on a Velib going down a street.
Oh, yeah.
And someone cut him off. And what happened? You attacked him. Is that?
No, he attacked me. Well, he wanted to attack me. I was just, I was actually going down Montmartre, so it was a pretty steep hill.
And those brakes aren't great on the Velibs as well.
Velibs are the free bikes around Paris.
And this guy just randomly crosses the street, and I ring the bell just to let him know that I'm actually there. That he might want to move unless I'm about to roll into him. And he got angry over that, telling me that why are you telling me this? Why are you people?
You went into French mode, didn't you, James?
Yeah.
And it's just kind of weird. Like, well, I told you that I was on the way, so that I wouldn't, squash you. It was actually for you that I was ringing my bell.
You can't analyze things with logic over here. I found the best way to really anger somebody over here is to give them a thumbs up. When somebody does
Reverse
something,
psychology.
when something ridiculous happens or somebody does something completely stupid, you look at them, you smile with a big thumbs up, as in, yeah, you're great, man.
Okay, we got a regular feature on this show is the quick question round at the end.
Okay,
so we've got 4 quick questions. Don't think too much.
I don't really.
That's cheating. What is the best coffee shop in Paris that you're not affiliated with?
It's very, sorry, a lot of politics going on in my head right now. So quick response.
McDonald's is the obvious answer.
Obviously not. That's really hard. I would say...
Do you ever go for a coffee at McDonald's?
I do.
Hang on, stop interrupting the quick question round.
Okay, I would say thank you, my dear. It's a great little gluten-free bakery
welcome,
with huge
dear.
amounts of soul and love and great founders.
Okay.
And gluten-free
Where is that?
delights.
I've never heard of that
It's
one.
Rue Saint-Maur.
Okay. Well, that's James' favourite street.
Yeah, check out the second episode.
Exactly.
Okay, second question. Putting sugar in your coffee.
It's a definite no-no.
Why?
It's the catch-up of the food world. It's to cover up any defects.
Surely it's just putting salt
it's
on
not.
your dinner.
Yeah, but if you have a palate, you don't put salt in your dinner.
Question 3. I noticed you have a man bun. Is the man bun in at the
Noticed
moment?
yours as well. I would say, to help you out,
They both ride scooters.
I would say that I'm a motorcyclist, but thanks, mate. I think I have 1,000 cc's more than all of us.
We're just 2 Australians here with man buns who ride motorbikes.
I think the
about.
man bun's in. I
Man
definitely
bun's
think it's in.
And is that any?
It better be in.
Is that any kind of connection to hipsterism and coffee culture in Paris?
No, but I link my bun to being free and entrepreneurial.
Okay, last question. How much is too much for a cup of coffee in Paris?
It depends on the quality.
No, I need a number.
You need a number. We're
talking good quality.
I would say on a terrace of a nice brasserie, you're going to be paying for a cappuccino something like €6, and that's ridiculous because I know exactly what they're using, how they're making it with probably automatic machines, long life milk.
So 6 is the cutoff. 5.50 is fine.
I would say $5.50 on a terrace is acceptable for a terrible cappuccino.
Wow.
For the view, if you have a great view, but at $6, you're pushing it.
To be honest, people watching is worth €5.50 in Paris any day, I think.
I've got a last question. How many cups of coffee do you drink a day?
I'm actually fairly reasonable. I drink about 5 to 6.
What about people who say that coffee isn't good for you?
Every human being's different. I know my limit. I drink only Arabica. When I do cupping, I spit out. But you have to know yourself. No coffee, it's actually got a lot of good benefits.
You actually spit out the coffee that you drink daily?
No, when I cup, when I taste. Yeah,
You didn't spit out the cupping before.
I should have, but you didn't provide me a spittoon, and I do have some manners. No, you have to know yourself. No coffee has a lot of good benefits. It's coming out. It was taken off the carcinogenic list of the World Health Organization recently. It's great for Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, blood flow, creativity. Voltaire apparently drank a lot of coffee. No.
Hang
I
on, he
think
didn't. Did he drink 6 a day?
he drank more from what I understand.
Okay,
yeah.
you heard it here first. That's the official. 550 is too much for a coffee, and you should.
I'm saying regarding the quality, because we serve an amazing coffee at 15 euros for a carafe at the moment.
Hang on, what does that mean? 15 for a carafe is
15 for 250 milliliters. But we're talking about the Genesis varietal of the geisha. 20 kilometers away. I'm talking about a coffee varietal, not a Japanese woman.
Wow, that sounded like some kind of novel.
Although I
from-
wish I was talking about both. No, come by and taste it. It's a blow away. You have a completely different experience. You have floral notes, extremely delicate spices, agrumes. You close your eyes and you're in a different world. So.
Okay, there you go. So if you want to taste this magical coffee, head to the Coutume Cafe, which is on Rue de Babylon
Correctement.
in the 5th arrondissement.
7th.
It's in the 7th.
Yeah, it's all good. It's left bank. I know you don't really go down there.
I've never strayed that far, but only for
South
your
of the
coffee.
border.
Only for your coffee, Tom. Thanks,
man.
thanks extremely much for coming in.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me in.
You've been a great guest, and you are listening to World Radio Paris. This is the Earful Tower. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/The Earful Tower. It's a pun. Follow World Radio Paris as well, facebook.com/World Radio Paris. And tune in again next week where we'll be talking to another special guest about all things French. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.